Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me, as always, is Chicharito's number one fan, Logan Stump.
Number one Stan, the Fox in the Box, the Mexican striker. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's killing it to start the season here. Unlike me, stumbling over my words as we start this episode. Logan, how was week number 2? Let's just talk a little, shoot the breeze here. Week number 2, MLS. What was your thoughts here?
Well, it was good because I got to start out with Orlando City playing SKC.
Yes, Friday night.
Children's Mercy Park, which is just a crazy atmosphere. I knew it was one of the ones that, and I'm going through each of these games kind of like, okay, I want to experience the atmosphere in some of these stadiums. And that was one that I definitely wanted to experience. And I know it's not to its full capabilities yet, but I know that's a place. And then also Minnesota comes up later in the weekend. I got to see that wall of Minnesota fans. So, the Wonder Wall. So that, it was a great start to the weekend. And then I think the games, when we were first looking at it at the beginning of the season, we were kind of looking at it like what game? I mean, we were having a hard time picking which games were going to be good. But again, this is a wild league. And in week 2, it proved to be pretty much the same story that 2021 is not going to change that any. So that was pretty cool. So, I love the weekend. It was a lot of fun and started out with a nice point for Orlando City, I think, on the road. So, yeah, it was good. It was it was a nice weekend, and the games were exciting. Saturday was loaded with games, so that was cool.
Yeah, Saturday, the day that I could not be home all day, was loaded with games. Right. Sunday, the day I could not move because of my softball practice, pulling every muscle in my body, only had the one. So I'm a little salty about week 2 here. But at least the Sunday game was really good. I missed like the afternoon games, sadly, for Saturday. I tried watching them on my phone at this place I was at, but it was kind of hard to do that. Bad service. It was really glitchy, really bad. Yeah. But what I did have, I just want to say real quick, because this is one of your headlines. So maybe we start with this headline first, because this is one of the ones I first turned on. First game of the weekend, NYCFC, or not first game of the weekend, first game of the Saturday, NYCFC versus Cincinnati. And, early on in, I got to see a goal, or I got to see a pixelated goal from my screen.
No kidding.
But yeah, really early on, let's talk this one first, I guess, since I brought it up. NYCFC, I was on their case all off season. Make some signings. Since he's beating you to these signings. And they went out and they just were like, let's shut up, Jordan. Right? We're going to score 5 past Cincinnati, and they're all going to be set-piece goals. This is one of your headlines. Go ahead and talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so, going into the season for Cincinnati, I think I had them ranked, I want to say 10th. You had them 9th, if I can remember correctly with our predictions. 10th and 9th. So, I mean, we had them progressing, no longer the wooden spoon team, right? I mean, that was the big storyline, and we talked with Brian Weigel of Cincy Soccer Talk, and we were convinced with him, I think, after that this team, depending on Lucho Acosta's, abilities as the number 10 in creating for Brenner. I mean, it seemed like they fixed things in the attack, but that was it, right? I mean, they front load that whole team. They've got attacking options for days. Matarrita is a defender that I think is more attack minded, so he's not going to add any defense. And then there's your issue, right? The defense was just absolutely horrible. Pedersen and Hogland just couldn't figure it out. It looks like they were mixed up a ton with set pieces. I mean, that's a lot about just communication and being coached well. And it doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like a team that is completely in just disarray. They didn't have Lucho Acosta for that game. Teton was a late scratch. So they had some issues with some lineup things and different things. That it just was a weird mix of talent for them. In New York City FC, playing at home in front of their home opener with the fans again at beautiful Yankee Stadium with that wonderful camera angle.
That's what I was going to say. Can we talk about the camera angle for a second?
Let's do it. It's
there's gotta be a way to fix this. I think I don't know. I mean, I get it. The way that they probably have the field and the outfield, and where the camera gantry is, probably not best. But
right, it's definitely filmed from like it looks like a band director's like, I guess, standing up on that thing that just kind of escalates a little bit and puts them up above. I don't know. It's anyway. If you're watching a game, it's so difficult to tell. And the pitch is smaller than any pitch in the MLS too, so it makes it look really strange. It makes it look one that the players are massive. When soccer players, I mean, besides center backs and keepers, they're not known to be massive. So it makes them look even bigger. The spaces are tighter. So you really have to have a game plan going into New York City. And I mean, Cincinnati looked. Again, I think they looked like that wooden spoon team that we saw, right? It doesn't matter if they can create chances for Brenner when they're leaking 5 goals. And the goals were just set pieces, and some of them were like magnificent. There was one that Thor shot around the wall with his left foot and it kind of ducks in. But yeah, I was really high on Cincinnati. I know you were too, and you have them even higher, I think. As far as like in your mind, this team could really do something, especially at the beginning when I was like, I don't know if they could really do like what you're saying. Like, I don't see them going up and competing for that playoff spot. But then I ranked them 10th because I thought teams below them were solid locks below them. But now, I mean, what are your thoughts? I know that you didn't get to see a ton of it except the blurry, glitchy stuff.
Yeah, I have them above NYCFC in my rankings, which looks absurd now. But again, I want to preach patience. I preached it last week.
Mm-hmm.
This week, it's a little bit more, okay, maybe press the panic button a little bit. But why I want to preach patience is it's MLS, right? Anything can happen. Yes, they got shellacked at Yankee Stadium, but that doesn't mean they will all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this has to be one of their first times at Yankee Stadium in a while, at least, because I don't think they played there at all last year. Yankee Stadium didn't have any games, I don't think. So, and then the year before that would have been their first year, I think. So I don't know. To me, when you're playing at NYCFC at Yankee Stadium, it's a lot different because they're used to that small pitch, and I believe they're better at home. If I remember correctly, I don't have any stats in front of me. But other teams have trouble kind of playing there because it's very compact.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it fits NYCFC's like compact playing. They know how to play in those tight spaces, dribbling, making passes. Now, the issue, I think, is you look at it and you say, these were all set-piece goals.
Mm-hmm.
So why, one, are you giving up that many set pieces? Or two, where's your set-piece defenses? Alexi Lawless always points out every year with his big thing is set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And this just makes it look like since he doesn't practice them. I saw people already calling for Jaap Stam's head, and I was like, he just came in last year in the middle of a pandemic. I don't think that would be the right thing to do 2 games in. Be like, see ya. But I think you have to look at it and say, is this a Jaap Stam problem with the set pieces, at least? And if so, somebody up in management's got to be on him and say, hey, you can't do that again. That's embarrassing. Matt Doyle pointed out it's an unofficial record, probably because nobody's ever tracked how many goals have been off the set piece before.
Right.
But I'm sure it was not 5. So I do think that this is probably a record. I don't know how you can even go back and check that. But that's embarrassing if you're Cincinnati as a player, if you're Cincinnati manager, if you're Cincinnati fan. It's embarrassing. I want to give props to NYCFC for being able to do that because I didn't think they had the firepower anymore. Do I think they're going to be world beaters still? No, probably not. But who knows? I mean, I'm probably wrong about every single position on that list now.
I mean, yeah, but it's MLS. It's funny that we do predictions, and I didn't really know what it meant to do predictions for MLS until I started watching this year. It's not like Premier League. Like Premier League, you can get close. Bundesliga, close.
Bundesliga, you put Bayern up top.
You put Bayern up top and work your way down, right?
For the last 10 years.
Yeah, and then hopefully Dortmund doesn't crap the bed like they have this year. One more thing before we move on, of course, but I think a lot of it has to do with defense in the midfield. Like their midfield just lacks, and that's it's been part of the issue. You can't have that much space with guys that just don't defend as well. Kubo is not going to defend as well. I think Bakojo is probably their best bet there. Barriel and Calvin Harris are easily more wingers than they are midfielders that are going to help you defense. So you've got two guys that are exposed, and I think Kubo's exposed often. I think I forget how you say the name, Gayu. He's a sorry, thank you. He's a midfielder playing in a right back position. So that automatically, and then like I said, Ronald Matarrita is not your defensive left back, which I mean, we'll get to another defensive left back in Portland that I don't think is very solid defensively, but he adds so much in attack that I think that's where a lot of these clubs go. But yeah, I've just not been too impressed with Cincinnati and their defense. It is very concerning.
Do you want to know something funny that you probably don't know? Joe Zhao was like the Christian Pulisic before Christian Pulisic. Everybody was like, oh my God, this guy is going to be great. He's at Dortmund. This was like 2014 and 2016, I think, that he was at Dortmund 2 and Dortmund 1. He made one appearance over that time. And everybody was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Because he made his first team debut in 2014. So that's 2 years before Pulisic did. And then now he's unfortunately stuck in Cincinnati, I guess. But yeah, I think we're good to move on, right? We good to move on from these two teams.
We had great headlines today. Week 2 gave us some really good headlines.
Yeah. I want to go to the most explosive headline first, I guess. That is Ochoa versus Minnesota United. He's taken on the whole team, Logan. He's taken on the whole team. So I want to read you some of this stuff, and then I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
About it. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you a quick question after I read some of these quotes. So for people that don't know, Minnesota losing 2-1 to RSL at home. They're at home in Minnesota. At the very last whistle, Ochoa just turns around, boots the ball into the stands. Then everybody starts attacking him. Here's Adrian Heath's quote after that. The goalkeeper just turned around and booted the ball at our fans and to our supporters, which is a no-no. We all know that. He's got some edge to him for a kid that's not that good. Here's Boxhall from Minnesota United, a player. He acted like bit of a clown within the 90 minutes before that, and then decides to top it off with which is pretty disrespectful. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's his first time out on the field. He obviously should know if it's his first time on the field or not. Or just doesn't seem like he knows how to behave. I think we wanted to let him know. And yeah, just a bit of a clown. You can tell him I said that. Logan, here's my question to you. Overreaction from Minnesota here with this Ochoa boot?
Yes, absolutely. Ochoa is like, and if you watched him in the U23s in the Olympics, he's a fiery kid. Just a keeper has to be. If you watch Brad Guzan, Tim Howard, I mean,
Tim Howard
constantly in people's faces yelling. And I didn't know this. I was listening to Extra Time today, and Matt Doyle said that the Wall is actually known for going in and researching like different things that they can bring up about specific players. So they actually do extensive research to heckle. And I get that. That's fun, right? And I think Ochoa is fun. He's punting a ball, and it wasn't like it was a rocket at somebody's face. And another thing Doyle said that I thought was hilarious, he goes, Minnesota fans, I know you're coming at me in the DMs because I said that it was just in fun nature. It was a fiery game. It was a rivalry kind of game. He said, but he goes, the fact that you guys are tweeting at me that somebody could have got hurt, how about you tell your center forwards and everybody else that's shooting balls into the stands because they had 23 shots and only 2 on target?
It's true. It's not different at all from a wayward shot that goes in the stands. He booted this thing so high.
Yeah.
You would have had probably an hour to move yourself away from its shot. Right. Look, we have lots of Minnesota fans, right? Yeah. With friends, the
Final Third pod.
Final Thirds friends. We had Mark Fangmeyer, right, who came on the show. He tweeted out. He asked extra time when they posted their questions. He posted, how many games should he be suspended? And if he doesn't get suspended, why should we not throw objects at the keepers? I would say we shouldn't be throwing anything on the field. Anyway, but I get his point of saying, you're protecting the players, but we're not protecting the fans. But again, I could understand more if this was a line drive. We've had this before in MLS. Kaku, I believe it was Kaku, for the Red Bulls, drilled somebody in the face with it. On purpose. Yeah. And that was a 2-game suspension. This, I feel like I see this happen with keepers all the time where they just drop it and boot it after the final whistle. The only difference is he turned around and faced the stands. Nobody was hurt. I don't see any reason to suspend him. Do you suspend Ochoa, Logan?
No, I might fine him a couple thousand, but not anything crazy. I think it would be like, here's your warning, don't do it again. Just because if you did accidentally hit somebody, maybe you kick it or something. But yeah, no, it was so high. He knew what he was doing. And like I said, I get it. You want player safety. It would be a bad look for the league if keepers just kept turning and whirling and kicking the ball into the stands. So I get that aspect of it. But this was a one time, I think, where you just sit him down and say, yeah, don't do that again. And I don't think he will do it again, just because of the backlash that he gets. It's kind of like that when you run off the back of the mound, like the unwritten rules of baseball, where you kind of do something that's unwritten. But it's a game of flash and show now, so it's the same as soccer. So
a lot of people upset about this are definitely the people that are all for the unwritten rules of baseball.
Yeah.
And as a baseball fan, not a fan of unwritten rules.
I'm not either.
Write it down if it's important, please.
Yeah.
That way I know what I'm doing. The unwritten rules just never made any sense to me, and I feel like this is kind of like that. I get it. You shouldn't be endangering anybody. Again, I don't think it was that much of endangering. So for me, I would not suspend him. But let's talk a little bit more about the match, I guess, itself, because look, I chose this club as my MLS Cup winner. Look, it's only 2 weeks. That's 2 losses for them. Neither one where their defenses looked really great at all.
No.
I'm getting a little worried. Should I be worried?
Yeah, defensively, you definitely should. One, because I think Diabasi's not back, right? He's hurt. You lost Opara, and he's definitely not coming back. So those are 2 pretty good defenders, and so then you're having to rely on center backs like Ritala and Boxall. Gasper was horrible. He was on both ends of those goals, conceding both of those goals. There was one where it was like miscommunication between Matala and where he kind of like kicks it back because he thought that the center back was going back to get it, but they both went forward and the ball just kept going. And it was an easy setup for RSL to get the second goal that they got. The first one, he gets it, and it's a really bad touch, and it ricochets off of his foot, and it goes right into the heel of Julio, and he slots it in from right outside, and it was a really nice shot. But yeah, you should be concerned. I think the defense is really concerning. You can't have to rely. You shouldn't have to rely so much on Reynoso to create. And I think there's times where it seems like he's firing balls at goal from 20 to 25 yards out because he can't get anywhere near the box. So I think that's. Yeah, I think right now it's not a panic situation, but right now they're on a bottom of a lot of people's power rankings and list because they look completely, and they got trashed by Seattle. Seattle just made them look like a second-rate kind of club, which I like to call teams that. But no, they did. It didn't look good. I mean, what are your thoughts? I know Ramon Abala. What is it? Abala? Is that how you say that?
Abila?
Abila. Yeah, sorry. He, I think he adds a lot, but he's not fully fit yet. He's not playing a ton, so I don't know. It is,
and he
something.
just joined the team, so that's going to take some bit to get him. So, Work, my thoughts is, look, if this trend continues throughout the season, I would be worried about Adrian Heath's job in the sense of the reaction to that kick by Ochoa.
Yeah,
makes me feel like they're not prepared. They're not prepared. And the fact that he always has to play the underdog card to his team makes me worried that that's all he has. And now that they're favored and they're struggling and they freak out about a mile-high ball kicked into the stands, makes me worried about their mentality, in all honesty. And I understand Minnesota fans are probably going to get real defensive about all that kind of stuff, but I enjoy watching Minnesota. They were fun to watch last year. I enjoy Adrian Heath from his time in Orlando. I enjoy Adrian Heath at his time at Minnesota. I'm just saying it as I see it, that, and maybe I'm reading it wrong, but for me, that type of mentality where they are immediately on the pitch going at it over this kick, and the fact that he always has to call and put some bulletin board material out makes me wonder why. Can they not handle being favorites? Can they not handle is he losing them a bit? Like, what is it? Granted, it's only 2 weeks, so obviously MLS season is very long and it's MLS, so they could run off like 10 in a row here and make us all look stupid. But I just worry about that. Am I right to be concerned about maybe the management position here, Logan, or their mentality as a whole?
Not from Adrian Heath's past. I mean, his time here in Orlando was just brutal. But you're right. It's like he waits for bulletin board material. If he's attacking Andrew Wiebe on a podcast that he probably doesn't listen to, but it's just getting clippings because it's Andrew Wiebe, the voice of MLS, pretty much. It's like, what's your game? What's your endpoint there?
He doesn't even get their website right. It's MLSsoccer.com. He calls it MLS.com.
Yeah, right. So, I can't even get that right. But again, and a lot of it speaks to the fact that, I mean, RSL, don't slack on RSL. They played pretty well. I mean, Anderson Julio and Rubio Rubin, 2 additions that they made this offseason that I know that we talked with Jake from RSL show, and he was looking at the 2 of them as somebody that could contribute. I know Rubin especially because they needed somebody in that attack, and both of them look great. I mean, I thought Anderson Julio was phenomenal. The shots that he put in were just great finishes. But again, it's against a team that when you were looking at it, you said that like with Diabasi and with Opara, they had one of the best defenses. Now I would argue that they're pretty bottom of the barrel as far as the Western Conference is concerned, because they just don't have depth and they don't have the luxury of making those mistakes when they're not scoring. That's 0.5 goals that they're averaging now, because they, no goals against Seattle, didn't even, look close in that second half against Seattle to scoring. So yeah, I think Adrian Heath has a lot to be worried about rather than calling a keeper that's probably one of the up-and-coming keepers in the whole league. Not good. Adrian Heath is not good.
That was insane. So. All right, let's go to one of yours here. Let's stick it to the weekend stuff for right now. So let's go with Austin's first win. We had Hernan on the show from We Are Austin TV. He nailed the prediction 3-1. And I thought he was crazy. I said after we left him, there's no way they score 3 on the Rapids here. And they did. They scored 3. And Cecilio had a great game, right?
He did.
So props to Hernan there for getting that completely right. But what's your takeaways here from Austin's first win? Because we also have some Thomas Pochettino news to cover as well.
I was going to say, do you want to get into that first, or you want to hit the game first?
We can talk that because that started right before the game. It was announced right before the game.
Yeah, so like right before the game, Austin FC comes out on their because the writers had noted because Jordan and I were texting back and forth lineups and
we were confused.
Yes,
somebody sent out a lineup that didn't have Thomas Pochettino on it, and then when I was watching the game, the TV graphic said he was starting, so I was like, oh, that guy must have got it wrong then. And then I find out, because I switched back to the Union game after halftime, and then I'm scrolling on Twitter and I see people talking that Pochettino isn't in there, and then they came out with this statement. So I was really confused, and I think we all were.
Yeah, so basically they came out and said that the administrative paperwork for the league was not good enough, in that in order to avoid any kind of penalties, they removed him from the lineup just to be safe. Which, I mean, here we go, right? It kind of sounds like it's a little like I hope it's not anything like that, but it did sound similar to the whole Blaise Matuidi stuff, like not having the ducks in a row either with the league. And I think that that's a little bit better. It wasn't the club necessarily. I don't think that was the administrative problem. I think it was the league maybe. But then again, I think it's strange that the club decided that they were going to just hold him out due to precautions, because maybe there becomes a rule where they have to forfeit games that he's played in, or, something like that, deduct points in which he's played because he's on, money that he shouldn't be on, or somebody else's spot was actually designated for him, or who knows what this.
So here's the official release. Let me. So this is from Austin FC. We were recently made aware of a potential league-related administrative issue regarding Tomas Pochettino's registration. While the league believes there are no issues, they've requested we remove him from the starting lineup out of an abundance of caution. We're hoping to receive resolution shortly. To me, what that speaks of, usually when they're talking about registration, that's registering the player from FIFA. So when they switch clubs,
gotcha,
they have to register the player for the league and stuff. So it was a transfer. So there was a transfer of money, right, to the team, and then Austin gets the player. Maybe they were made aware of there's some sort of hiccup with that paperwork for whatever reason, and they are trying to correct that. Why it would only be noticed now week 2 and not any of the off season? Because he started joining them like back in the end of February, early March, when we started our recaps, our previews. And then we had what was the other? And then we had a whole week of games where he played. There was no issue. So to me, that's what I think it is. I don't think it would have anything to do with DPs. Anything like that. MLS would have came out and said that they're investigating the same way as Matuidi.
That's true, I guess, yeah.
But it is similar in the sense of there is something wrong with this. But I think this is bigger than an MLS rules situation.
Mm-hmm.
Might just be a hiccup with the paperwork. It might smooth over real quick. Apparently, there's still been no update. He is training with the team, but a little worrying. And I know We Are Austin TV and other accounts were speculating that their new signing, Emmanuel Perez, on loan from Timbers after Timbers signed him from somebody else, right? So, they had the allocation order. Timbers picked him, traded him, or loaned him to Austin. And some people thought that was some sort of emergency cover for Pochettino.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think no, right? I think these type of transfers are usually in the works for a while. That's not the case. You're not going to have somebody the next day. Yeah, you're not going to have somebody the next day, if that's the case, or 2 days later. So especially when it has to go through allocation order, so you would have had the Timbers would have had to been aware that you need him and that you have to trade for him or loan him, and I don't think it's that. But some people are a little worried that that's what it is.
Yes, I mean, and it's a concern. Anytime that he has to miss, he looked really good against LAFC. I thought that he looked like he's going to fit in this league. So I just hope that clears, because the team needs him. And plus, I want to watch him play, because I thought that he did really well. And his free kicks are something to watch. They're kind of like David Silva a little bit, where it looks like he's threatening every time. But as the game goes on, I think the biggest thing too was Ben Sweat tore his ACL, 23rd minute, out for the year. So big news on that front. Who's going to fill into that left back position? Right now, it looks like Kolmanek will. They liked him in preseason, so I know that the Austin TV guys were speaking high on him on one that I'd listened to lately, that they were pretty high on him defensively. But that's depth, right? And man, you can't lose defenders like Minnesota's getting to find out here. The more defenders you lose, the more concerning it is. I will say, on a positive note, I think that Alex Ring is easily the best acquisition that the team has made. I think he makes such a difference, and he's such a keystone to this club going forward. Cecilio Dominguez finally looked like he just was going to tear the league up, and we're only in week 2. When I say finally, there were some issues with Danny Hosen. I think that they're still trying to find a 9 that is reliable, and I think that that's maybe something that they try to look to improve as they do go forward as a club, just not now. It does seem like they're willing to spend money. So, but overall, man, it was cool to see Austin get their first win. The fans were in troves there. Our boy Hernan was on ESPN. We got a picture of him and tagged him on Twitter. But yeah, they looked really good. And on the flip side, I think the Rapids have not looked very good. Attacking, they just don't look strong. I don't think Jonathan Lewis has even touched the pitch, really. Maybe he came on late. He comes on late in that match. But, man, they just don't – like, I know they rely a lot on Bassett to create, and having Kellen Acosta playing in the back line probably doesn't help. But
I was worried about the Rapids this season. Yeah. If we look back at the Western preview, I have them at 8th. A lot of people have them as a dark horse for the West, or higher. You have them 6th. Mm-hmm. But some people have them even higher than that. And I am concerned about them because I felt like they were last year kind of like this where things kind of went their way at times. And you know what, Rapids fans might jump on me and say, name specifics. I'm having trouble talking today, but I can't. I can't name specifics. But I'm just saying, like, to me, when I look at the squad and I look at the Rapids and stuff, it's not something that I'm like, okay, this is going to compete pretty well in this Western Conference that has players like Carlos Vela, Raul Ruiz-Diaz,
Chicharito.
And Chicharito, and all these, especially if LA is more emergent, if they are, as we'll move into soon here, if they are going to continue that play, then I can see the Galaxy kind of moving in there. Who do we have here? I have the Galaxy in there. I have FC Dallas in there. That might be wrong. We'll see. I have Sounders, Sporting, Minnesota, LAFC, and Portland. I'm trying to think of who would I remove out of there to put the Rapids. Maybe Dallas.
Yeah, maybe Dallas.
But then maybe Quakes get in there. Maybe Austin gets in there. Like, RSL is looking pretty. They've only played the one game. Houston's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
It's one of those where, this is what I'm talking about when you say MLS. One year you can go from like up here to down here. We just, before the LA Galaxy game and Red Bull game, they showed what Red Bull celebrating their Supporter Shield of 2018 win. And that feels like ages ago that the Red Bulls won the Supporter Shield. But it's been 2 seasons, 19 and 20 since then. This is the 3rd season. And you can kind of go from that. You can go from, we're in the playoffs as the Rapids to, now we're out. Now we're back in the next year. And I do think they need to solidify some of their squad. I think sometimes they're just too young.
And it's going to get worse, I think. I think you will see, it's very realistic that in summer, if they're struggling, that you see a Sam Vines move to championship or Bundesliga or one of the Austrian leagues, or you see, a Jonathan Lewis try to leave or a Cole Bassett try to leave, or, who knows at this point. It's a young team and Bassett was the first one on everybody's list that would probably end up leaving before Sam, especially with some injuries now. Like this team is one that you could look at and go, man, it's just a steady downhill trend down that it just, I think that this could be, and you might be right, Jordan. I think that it's a team that maybe just doesn't have that identity it needs in the West.
That's one of the things when we're making our predictions. It was like, especially after we talked about each team, we're like, each of these teams really good. And then you start trying to fit everybody into the playoff spots and you're like, you can't. And I don't think it would be actually a bad season if they missed out on it because, again, for me, I felt like they overperformed last year.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it would be kind of like, okay, you're still okay. But I'm sure the fans wouldn't like that. Anything else about Austin or Colorado here? I do want to say congrats, Austin, for their first ever win. That's pretty cool. But if not, I want to move on to one of those teams we talked about, which is the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, ready.
I feel like Logan's got a background that says Chicharito start has been out of this world.
That has.
A little pun there with the Galaxy, right? But yeah, it has been out of this world. Let me pull up his stats here for the video watchers, and then we'll talk about it. He's got 5 goals in 2 matches. He had his first hat trick this weekend since 2014. I believe is what they said. And that's when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. So it's been a bit for Chicharito to score a hat trick, and he has just wanted it. He was on that pitch on Sunday in every bit of an attack. I thought he could get 4 or 5, to be honest. He was so many chances. But I'm happy to see him get this hat trick, and I think it is important to have a star like Chicharito do well here because – look, this raises the profile of the league. You got lots of Mexican national team fans that love Chicharito. They might start watching the Galaxy. It might pull them into liking Galaxy the same way that they may still like their Mexican team better, right? But they might be like when they watch MLS, be like, oh, I'll watch the Galaxy. Even when he leaves, they might be like, oh, I'll watch Galaxy or I'll watch LAFC Revela. But it's good to have them tuning into these games. It's the same way that kind of like some American fans now might follow Chelsea because of Pulisic or follow Salzburg because of Aronson. Like it helps grow that type of affiliation. So it's great when we have players like Chicharito scoring in here. But my main plot line is not actually Chicharito's hat trick. It's the Galaxy are the only team to have won 2 out of 2. I guess RSL could break that.
Yeah, they're the only ones that
play
can do it. Yeah.
Their second match, but we'll see. By then, everybody else will be on like 3 games. But the Galaxy are top of the West right now with 6 points. Right below them is Seattle with 4 points. 4 points, and then LAFC, Kansas City, and Vancouver all with 4 points. The only team with 0 points in the West, Minnesota. The only team with 0 in the East, New York Red Bulls. We'll talk about that game a little later. But it is something that is pretty interesting. And it was their first time winning their first 2 games since I think they said 2010 or 12. That's back in the Donovan, Beckham, Robbie Keane days when they were a dynasty. So pretty good start for the Galaxy. Greg Vanney has turned this team around pretty quickly with help of Chicharito. But I think you got to look at what Vanney's doing. And, when he came in, he said he needed to go talk to Chicharito and make sure that he's good to go. And whatever he said to him, whatever he's gotten him to do has worked. And what's your thoughts here on the LA Galaxy hot start to the season?
I would just say that that Greg Vanney is, and we talked about this. You have him a little higher than I did, just because I didn't think Chicharito. And again, without Chicharito, this team's not off to the start. But a lot of it has to do with, I think, Greg Vanney. Victor Vasquez coming over from Toronto with him is a big deal, and he's played extremely well. It seems like he's got the attack figured out. Now it's just trying to kind of shore up that defense, and it will struggle at times. It was the worst defense last year besides San Jose, and San Jose was record-breaking. But I think that it's Greg Vanney. I think that he's reinvigorated Chicharito. I think Chicharito respects him. I think that this is a coach that knows how to win, right? And I'm actually shocked that his name doesn't get thrown around as much as like Bob Bradley. I mean, Greg Vanney, and I think it'll help him being in LA. Greg Vanney is one heck of a coach, one heck of a guy, and man, does he look sharp on a sideline. Just looks like he knows what he's doing over there.
Yeah, fine dress too.
Yeah, he is.
Got the suit down. But yeah, we talked about their attack a bit, but their defense, both games finished 3-2. So pretty funny. They've scored 6 goals on the season, but they've given up 4. That's a little worrying for the Galaxy, but you can't argue that they won, both games. People before, I know you kind of brought up, well, the first game was against Miami. I said, yes, but Miami just beat the Union and scored 2 against the Union. And the Red Bulls, I think they're better than NYCFC. I think they're off to a slow start. It might be even be a manager issue. We're not really sure what's going on with them yet. They had a tough start. SKC and LA Galaxy right now is a hard gauntlet to start your first 2 weeks off. So the fact that Red Bulls don't end up with points at all is a little harsh on them. But I think when we look at the end of the season, if the Galaxy keep this up, we look back and we say, wow, this was a pretty good move by Greg Vanney. I have them, as we just saw before, in 7th place. That's just at the playoff line. I was really buying into them this season. You have them 8th. I saw some people have them higher. I saw some people have them even lower than those. So we'll see where it goes from here. But if I'm an LA Galaxy fan, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident. Starting off against SKC and Red Bulls are pretty tough as well. So the fact that you got all 6 points from there, well, they didn't start with SKC. Sorry, starting with Miami and Red Bulls is pretty tough for LA Galaxy. Miami might not look that tough right now, but they're up in the air. We really have no idea what Miami is at this point. Like I said, they just beat the Union, who had one of the best defenses in the league last year, if not the best. So if you're the Galaxy, you're trying to figure out, okay, so was that Miami result bad because we gave up 2 against them, but the Union gave up 2 against them, so maybe we're good? But we gave up 2 to the Red Bulls. Is that good? We'll find out near the end of the year. When we see where the Red Bulls land, we'll be like, okay, yeah, that was pretty good. But, if I'm a Galaxy fan, feeling really good about the start of the season. Let's go to your last headline here. Toronto FC, not on the pitch here. We're actually going to talk a signing. Jefferson Soteldo, if I said that right.
I think it's Soteldo, I think. I tried to look it up, Soteldo. But so $6 million fee coming in from Santos down in Brazil. He's playing in their first division down there. And Santos is a really well-known club in Brazil. He is, Jordan, I had to look this up because I thought they were lying. You want to guess his height?
5'6"?
No.
Oh, okay.
5'2". I'm not kidding.
5'2"? Really? I know he's short. I was watching the videos and I was like, oh my goodness.
He's 5'2", and he's 121 pounds. And that might be soaking wet. The guy is very small in frame, but his stature, he's big, like he's bulky, or like he's a stronger little guy. And I'll tell you what, watching his and reading, I read through Athletic and I read through some of the, I think TFC did a nice job covering him. And then there were some nice tweets out about him and some scouting reports out of Brazil. Quick, fast on the ball. He can blow by defenders in a league that doesn't really typically have good right backs and left backs defending. If he would have been playing against this, the LA Galaxy team, for instance, or this Minnesota team, I'm pretty sure that these guys would just have an absolute nightmare in trying to defend him. His pace, he's got great ability. He can play. He's a left winger. He can play some 10. He kind of can scoot up into that center forward role, which, they do have some depth there, but they've both been hurt. Akinola, he's been hurt. Josie's been hurt. It's an attack that doesn't really have any teeth, and I think they just got some pretty sharp teeth. This guy, from the sounds of it, is just going to absolutely wreck this league. He's got 4 goals and 5 assists in the games that he's played down there, which aren't like eye-popping, but they said in MLS, if that translates, this could be an easy, 9, 10, 12 assists with 8 or 9 goals. And that's a really good winger for this league, which I totally agree. I think that this could be a huge move if Toronto can stay healthy. Now the question is, can Toronto stay healthy? Had a really tough start so far. They've done well in CCL, hasn't translated well to MLS. They got absolutely trounced by Montreal, which, that's starting to look not so bad because Montreal's been so good. And then they drew with Vancouver this last weekend. So this could be a huge signing, and it's a kid. He's 23. He's young. He's got good leadership qualities, and everything that I've read about him so far, just his pace is like lightning speed. So I'm excited to watch what he can do for Toronto.
Same. Look, anytime an MLS team wants to go out and buy one of these South American young playmakers, I am all for it. This is going to be, it's good for the league. It's good for him. It's good for Toronto. And then I guess if he wants to move on, in 2 to 3 years, they can sell him if he does well. So pretty good pickup for Toronto, and out of nowhere too. So really enjoyed that. My last topic here is VAR. Yes, the VAR. I wanted to highlight it because usually when we talk about it on Stoppage Time Soccer Show, it's negative.
I'm so confused.
This is a good highlight. This is a good headline. VAR these first 2 weeks has been spectacular. And I do want to say, yes, we had like 3 goals wiped out due to offsides in that first game, the SKC Orlando game. But they were all the right decisions. They were all the right calls, and they took little to no time at all to make these calls. Go over, check. Oh, no, we're good. It's in. Then we have in the LAFC match, not LAFC match. What's it, the LAFC match? The LA Galaxy match, I know for sure, had Chicharito's first or second goal wiped out for offside. He was clearly on. They look at it. They see he's clearly on. Goal. It gets overturned. The goal. They called him off originally. They overturn it to being onside and a goal. And I'm just, looking at this and I say, this is how you do it. You don't draw lines on a thing. You look over at the monitor. Is there enough right now? If I look at this that says, yes, he's on, no, he's off, then make the decision. If you can't tell without drawing lines, then the call stands. It should be that simple. It moves the game along. We're not taking 5-minute VAR checks for then the ref to come out and look confused and be like, no goal. And then the players are like, what? I was clearly in line with this guy. It's just simple. And I really like the way that MLS is doing these VAR calls. And like I said, they took no time at all. It was quick. They went to it like 3 or 4 times in that SKC game. They went to it a few times in the LA Galaxy game and throughout the weekend. And really, I couldn't see any sort of hiccups with VAR this weekend.
No, it's a beautiful thing. And we spend so much time on stoppage because it is so bad over there in Europe. It changes the complexion of games. And imagine when fans are there. I mean, we haven't gotten to see what it would look like with fans there blowing down these referees' necks, which you hope wouldn't change anything. But it's England, right? It might in the way that they determine, okay, what am I actually seeing versus these people are yelling at me from around this monitor. It can have a little bit of sway. Whereas, dude, you're not wrong. Like watching the SKC Orlando game, I'm expecting like VAR. I could go get some popcorn, hang out, and they go and then they do this, and you're like, oh, good God, now we got to go over to the screen and listen to it. Whereas MLS, it's so impressive how this young league, 26 years old now, has figured it out completely. I love everything about it. It's what, isn't it clear an advantage? Is it clear, and the clear and obvious thing is just like beautiful because it's like, oh, that doesn't really, it's here's what it looks like. Here's what I see. And you're right. This doesn't give a clear advantage. So why change it? I love it. I love everything about VAR as it works in MLS, and it keeps the game going. And it's literally within seconds of them going and looking at it that they're like, okay, yep, I agree. So it's a beautiful thing.
They go over and take a look. Here's what gets me. I was watching baseball and MLS. I've been watching lots of MLB, lots of MLS, lots of European soccer. And European soccer and MLB are very alike in the sense of European soccer, they go over, they do the box, right? They look at it, and they stand there for 6 minutes while they watch it, and then they come back and be like, all right, same call. Or they'll overturn it. And you're like, okay. Baseball, they'll sit there with their headsets on to New York for 7 minutes and then come back and be like, out. And it's like, that's what you already called, and we already looked at the proof, and it shows he's safe. What are you doing? To me, if you have to watch it 7 times, and I can tell on the first watch, yes or no, or if I can tell on the second watch, why are you taking 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes to watch this? If you go and watch it for 5 minutes and you can't tell, then just stick with what's called. I don't care.
Yes.
Just stick with what's called. Stop wasting my time.
Yep.
If you go over there and you can clearly see it, then just come back. What are you taking so long for? There's times I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, that's clearly onside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there for another 3 minutes while they figure it out. MLS is like, they go over and they're like, oh no, yeah, he was on. All right, yeah, goal stands. Nice, awesome. Let's move on. It was great.
Yep, agreed.
Let's move on to the rest of the weekend here. We were just talking about Orlando SKC. 3 goals called back for offsides. All of them the best call, the right call. Nani with a slick back heel finish, which is, I'm going to say it here. We're supposed to be picking goals of the week. We haven't done it yet. Goal of the week for me, Nani's back heel. Originally called offside. I saw it on the first take, and I said, first replay, I said, that should be onside. I think I texted you that. That's onside.
Yep.
And they came right back, and they said, yep, onside. And I was like, faith is restored in VAR right now. But what was your takes here on your Orlando City Lions taking on SKC away from home? They've had a tough start to the season with Atlanta and SKC. 2 draws for Orlando. What's your take on the start to the season?
I like it. I thought the Atlanta game, they got what they deserved. I actually thought the SKC game that they played a little carelessly at the end of the half when Busio gets that. It's like a 45-minute goal or 45th minute or 44th minute goal or something.
Yeah, it was like right before half.
Yeah, it was right before half, and it was a clear mistake by the defenders trying to clear the ball out. So I actually think that, like, it's not the best start, but playing 2 really tough teams that are going to be playoff teams, teams that I think that are pretty equal as far as talent. Like, I think that I think we can honestly say SKC, Orlando, Atlanta, maybe in the West it would be like, I guess, Seattle, but Seattle looks good. But like those 4 or 5 teams, right? Pretty even on talent. I think that going into Children's Mercy Park and getting a point there in a really tough environment is good. And you're also playing without a typical 9, which I think if you had a typical 9, some of those chances that we weren't quite getting it. One thing that I will say, I don't know if it was just because of rest or what it was, but I thought Chris Mueller was our best player against Atlanta, and he didn't play, but 30 minutes for Orlando City. But yeah, Nani looked really good, which was good to see because he had looked like crap against Atlanta. And then SKC, it felt like a very even game when you kind of shook out some of the issues and kind of the back and forth. I think Atlanta game got what you deserve. Probably could have won the SKC game, which would have been a huge road win. But right now I'm looking at it, and like you said, I think that the Nani goal will end up being one of the top goals of the year, just because it's so Nani. The way that he back heels it, he kind of just goes, yeah, that was going to go in.
Oh, it's so cool. It
was cool.
So cool. It was like so slick, so cool. He's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it was like, oh, yep. But no, I agree. I think that I don't really have much else to say. I think it's a pretty even playing ground with SKC, I think.
Yeah, pretty good start for Orlando. I think, some people probably thought Orlando would kind of come a little hotter to start, but you lost Pato. You don't have Daryl DK. 2 points against Atlanta and SKC from last year's results and from just history's sake and what they're supposed to be this year.
That's been
really good. Pretty good. I don't have much else to say either, but
Yeah.
Busio with the nice finish there. I've been a little hard on him in the past, but he is only 18. But maybe he'll leave at some point as well. But just overall, just good there. VAR was perfect, entertaining game, 1-1 finish, nice back heel equalizer in the 78th minute. So pretty good. It was almost at the point where I thought you were getting ready to jump off a cliff there because you were all like, I don't know how many. 3 of those goals were called for offside. 2 of them were called for offside for Orlando, I think, right?
Yeah.
It was almost every time you're like,
yes.
yeah, goal. And I'm like, it's offside again.
Yeah. No, it did get to that point, but then I was like, you know what? This looks a lot better than what we did against Atlanta. It looked like Benji and then we're getting forward really. That's who I thought. Like Benji Michel looked good. Mendes always looked good. I thought that they played superb. I think Huan is probably top 3 or 4 right backs in the league. So no, it's a lot of fun. Antonio Carlos just solid, but it's a lot of fun. And I was about to jump it off, but then I was like, this is a good point. This is a good away point at SKC. It's a tough place to play.
Let's move on to Montreal. You alluded to them earlier.
This was wild.
Our wooden spoon picks, right? Not looking so good right now on that prediction. No. They draw with Nashville 2-2. Is there something wrong with Nashville here? Nashville has to come back again from 2-0 down early on, 13th minute. Mason Toye scores a goal for Montreal. Then you have a deflection that gives them a 2-0 lead, right? And then you got Randall Leal crossing in to find Cadiz on a header. And then we get another goal. When was that one? I'm trying to find here on your notes. Mukhtar, there we go, in the 77th minute to tie it up. Like you said, second week in a row they've come down from 2 down. Montreal kind of looked a little probably gassed in the last 25 minutes, not knowing what they're doing. But were we a little too harsh on Montreal here? I'm going to put the graphic up for everybody. There it is with the wooden spoon next to it. Because they've come out storming out of the gate, but or is this a Nashville issue? Are they just being too leaky at the beginning of games right now?
I will say I think that the teams at the bottom of the East aren't as weak as we thought they were. I would say DC United hasn't really done much with me. So like I don't think Montreal is going to. This is tough because it's gotten me in trouble last time we did this. I don't think Montreal is like going to stay up that far. I think they are playing really well. My biggest issue with them is once the goals stop from Mason Toye, because they tend to stop with Mason Toye, you've got Kyoto, and then you're hoping that Jordy Mihailovic plays the way that he's been playing. I want to be higher on them. I'm just not yet convinced. Because against teams, again, that won Nashville, I mean, they were leaking goals out the back, which it didn't. That's not normal for them. Like Cincinnati, I thought Cincinnati created really well on Nashville for the first 15 minutes, and then they're always playing from behind. And I think Nashville's a pretty decent team, but no, I don't know. It's really tough because it's only the second game in the year. But I'm trying to think of the other teams that I've seen this year, and really, I mean, Nashville, DC United, Red Bulls, maybe NYCFC are teams that haven't played better than Montreal. And I think with the addition, Toronto got better. So, I don't know. Jury's still out on Montreal for me.
Yeah, it's if I'm a Nashville fan, we thought they had a pretty good chance. I'll put up the Eastern predictions again. I have them 7th. You have them 6th. Thought that would be pretty decent. Little slow start. 2 points, which is okay.
Both games at home, though.
And giving up 2 quick goals, early on, both games, and having to come back. At least they're coming back. They're making some sort of, they are getting points for it, but at some point they're probably going to come across a team that's not Montreal or Cincinnati. And if they give up 2 early goals, maybe they end up giving 4, or they can't come back and they're losing points. So I'd be a little worried about that. Montreal, I think, could be pleasantly surprised. When we talked earlier in our preview, we heard that Nancy might be a good continuation for Henri's plan, and that he's been there a while. And I kind of tried to compare that to, who did I compare that to? I compared it to a manager. I don't even remember who I compared that to. Wow. I compared it to a manager who came in and kind of was able to continue and kind of maybe Jim Curtin that I kind of compared it to, but and it's looking pretty good. Good start to the season here. So let's move on to the other Canadian teams. Vancouver at Toronto. So this one ended 2-2 as well. Toronto got a lead 7 minutes in. Then we had just trying to find the breakdown of the rest of the scoring here. Just a second. Here it is. Okay. 7 minutes in. Then we had a penalty in the 55th minute to give Vancouver an equalizer. Then Vancouver took the lead in the 70th minute, and then Jonathan Osorio in the 83rd to win. To draw, equalize. Vancouver, we had pretty low in our standings. We had them at the bottom of the West, but they've had a decent start. And for Toronto, we have them 7th and 6th. So any takeaway from this game at all? Toronto had a rough start against Montreal, but they kind of came back. And guess what? If they were an American team, I don't think they would have qualified for the Open Cup with this start of these two teams.
Got it right.
But go ahead. Anything you want to say about them?
I guess Vancouver, Cavallini is so good. Every time that he's on the pitch and he's running into spaces, I will say Toronto pretty much took him out of the match. And I think that's actually the difference. I actually think Vancouver played better than Toronto did at times. But the difference was Michael Bradley and Ochoa in that center defensive mid. They were kind of deeper in the center mid. They were really just stuck to Cavallini. So wherever Cavallini went, that's where they went. So they didn't really get any space in there. And again, they don't have a creative 10. And that's been the biggest thing when we talked to Sam. What was the biggest issues? What were some things that were concerning going in? And it was not having that DP10. And then that's the first thing that Axel Schuster and Mark, Dos Santos, I think it's called, Dos Santos. That's the biggest concern for them, was not having that playmaking 10 that can take those balls and put them into those gaps where Cavallini, when Cavallini can't get loose into those tight spaces where Bradley and Ochoa were. And I didn't know Ochoa plays everywhere, because Ochoa was playing striker against Club Lyon and the CCL, and now he's playing like a defensive. The kid can play everywhere. He's huge too. He's massive. So I've been really impressed with him. But there's not much else to say besides the fact that Vancouver need a big number 10, and I'm not quite sure Toronto has what it takes without Pozuelo being healthy and in their mix, because that's such a huge loss. And Akinola, not having him around because Josie's not around, that's a big loss too. They just don't have that go-to striker that they really need.
They did sign a new player, though.
That is true.
They did sign a alligator that was on their property during their training.
Hey, the attack with a lot of bite. So
yeah. Hey, welcome to Florida, right? That's where they're playing.
Did you see? Okay, so Alex Leitao, who's the CEO of Orlando City, tweeted out. He goes, "I'm pretty sure that's against the homegrown rights, and you can't have that player because technically he's ours."
There you go.
That was good. So
already fighting over him. Let's move on to Dallas, San Jose. So Dallas drew with Rapids last week 0-0. They lose to San Jose 3-1.
They got bashed.
Yeah, and this is one of those where we're like, I think I texted you, like, San Jose's back to what they were last year. Just they're gonna lose or draw, and then they're gonna score a ton and win another game, and then next week they're probably gonna lose by 4, and then the following week they're gonna draw, and the week after that they're gonna win by 3, and it's just gonna go like that the whole season. I had them 9th. You have them 9th as well. So they win 3-1 over Dallas, and we did have a young player sighting, right?
Oh yeah,
You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Wondolowski. But no, San Jose actually had a missed penalty 19 minutes in. Christian Espinoza missed. Then you get a made penalty 34 minutes in by Oswaldo Alanis. And then you have Espinoza scoring, assisted by Cade Cowell. And then a goal by Cade Cowell. And then Ricardo Pepi for Dallas in the 79th minute. 89th minute, Wondolowski red card. Just it had everything, right? It had a Wando red card for an attacker. It had wild. 4 goals in the game, a missed penalty. It really had everything. This was the Unimas Twitter game, by the way. Any thoughts here on either of these two teams?
Cade Cowell's goal, if you haven't seen it, I want to say he's 17. He's a high schooler. They kept calling him the high schooler. He's so strong, like for a young kid. And there's another kid that we're going to get to here in a little bit, but Cade Cowell, remember the name, because man, the United States is just cranking out top level talent, and Cade Cowell, I think, is no exception. The kid is so strong, and the move that he puts on 2 defenders and puts them in a complete bind, and then scores that goal. We weren't impressed with him a ton. He didn't get involved against Houston, but the game against Dallas, man, he lit them up, which was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Doyle posted the GIF of his pass.
Yeah,
on the assist, I think it was, and it was a good pass. So
yeah, it's creative.
Not much else to say there. San Jose, pretty much same old. Dallas, maybe some warning signs here, but still kind of early in the season.
No Jesus Ferreira either.
So. Right. So they're down a player. My game of the weekend from last episode that ended up not being my game of the weekend was Seattle at LAFC. This free kick by LAFC early on, I want to talk about. This was almost one of my topics.
Yeah, I knew it would be.
But Stephen Fry and who was it? It was Nuhu? Was it Nuhu?
It was Nuhu. Yeah.
Nuhu's trying to communicate to, hey, do you want me to lay down? Because this is a new thing that's really come about in the last 2 years. That behind the wall is a player laying down. It looks goofy. And so that way when they jump, there's somebody there that gets hit by the ball if they try to put it under the wall. And Fry says no. Right? No, we're good. Then free kick. During the free kick, it was Atuesta, right? Yeah,
it was Atuesta, yep.
Steps up. The wall jumps. He puts it underneath of them. It goes in the bottom left corner. 1-0. 82 seconds in?
Quickest goal in LAFC, 82 seconds in.
Absolutely crazy. The commentators were like, whoa, because they were actually talking about it. John Champion Taylor Tolman was actually talking about them with the new Who Fry wall thing before it happened. And then it happened. And I'm sitting there like, wonderful. If you're out to Westa and you heard all of that, you're like, okay, well then I'm going to just put this under, right? But also the point is, Casey Keller brought it up. I think Twellman brought it up. This free kick is so close to the goal, you shouldn't have to jump. There's no way he's going to get it up, over, and in that close. So you would have to just not jump, right? And he probably skies it over the bar. And I think that's where the miscommunication came in. Stephen Fry's like, probably like, no, like, don't jump, And then those players are like, but we always jump. It's a wall. Like, we always do it, right? Jump. And then they jump. And then Atuesta's like, thank you. And, they asked Schmetzer at halftime, is that something that they ever practice? He said, it's not usually something they dictate. They usually don't practice it, but that they're probably going to practice it now. What's your thoughts on that opening free kick?
Same that you said. I mean, I think it was brilliant by Eduardo Atuesta, just to know what's going on, to be aware, and he's easily one of the best midfielders in the league. to know that and to expect that and to place it correctly. Because think about it, like the ball's on the ground, that's still a really hard kick to get it to stay flat as much as possible underneath the boots of
I don't know
those
how
players.
anybody does it.
No,
I don't know how anybody keeps a hard hit ball low on the ground. Perfect placement. It was great.
It was. So, no, I totally agree with you. I think it was brilliant. And I think that the whole miscommunication, because I actually thought that, I mean, they didn't have Vela or Rossi. I actually thought that Seattle, once again, looked like the better team. And, I think that there's a lot to build on. The roll downs are just so good. It's like they haven't really even missed a beat without Jordan, which is pretty amazing. And hopefully he can get back soon.
Yeah. Liverpool legend Brad Smith scores his first goal for Seattle. We for people that listen to Stoppage Time, we text Matt because Matt's a Liverpool fan. We're like, hey, do you ever remember Brad Smith, who was a Liverpool player for like 5 appearances or 1 appearance? 5 appearances, 1 appearance in the FA Cup or whatever. He said, wasn't he a goalkeeper? I said no. So, no, he did not remember him. He was thinking Brad Jones, who was the goalkeeper for Liverpool for a while, like 3rd string goalkeeper. But, yeah, it was pretty interesting. 1-1 draw. Not much else to say about there. I think Seattle, like I said, it hasn't really missed a beat. They came back from 82-second goal to draw, and they looked the better team. We already talked RSL Minnesota. Let's get DC United versus the Revolution. DC have 11 hurt players.
Yeah,
neither team really looked up for this. We have a own goal for a Heinz Ike.
Yep.
That gives Revs the win. 12 combined shots and just 3 on target. Not much really to say about this one. But the Revs get the 3 points.
Yeah. At home for the first time in Gillette with fans, I guess we could say that. That's about all that happened that was eventful. So.
Let's move on to Inter Miami Philadelphia Union, which was in the city of brotherly love, and there was some brotherly love here as we have Jamiro Montero scoring the first goal of the Union season in the 54th minute after, it seemed like they had so many chances. And then you have Federico Higuain finding his brother Gonzalo Higuain in the 73rd minute to make it 1-1. And then 10 minutes later, Federico Higuain scoring the header to take the lead. The Union recorded 13 shots compared to Miami's 6, but they only put 1 away. Sergio Santos started the game instead of Fontana. Kind of like a game that seemed to be under the Union's control that then ended up not being under their control, and they lose that one. Obviously the goalkeeper John McCarthy is a former Philadelphia Union product as well. But Higuain, I have to clarify, Federico Higuain did dedicate his goal to his mother. This was about a day or two before she ended up passing away. So the Higuains just lost their mother, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
So, we just want to say that, that's awful, and hope that everything is good there. And that they're feeling okay. I think they lost her to cancer, actually.
Yeah, she'd been battling for a bit. So,
any thoughts here on the Union or Inter Miami? Inter Miami put 2 against the Galaxy. They put 2 against the Union. Are they looking pretty good?
Yeah, and Robbie Robinson has played really well. So that's been really cool to watch and kind of just bouncing around. And he'd always been touted as one of those up and coming players. Never really kind of fit in, and now he's playing well. So that's really cool to see. And yeah, the Higuain brothers, kind of a cool moment to share that together when probably knowing that mom wasn't going to make it too much longer. I just get chills thinking about it. But and on the Union side, they play tonight, CCL. So it'll be interesting to see the night that we're recording this. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of bounce back. I just think still that they have one of the best defenses in the league. Just got kind of leaky there at the end, 73 minutes in. That's pretty good to make it that far. And losing those at the end, it stinks. But I think those are the ones that you kind of go, okay, that's a game we just lost. Got to pick it back up. And they've definitely got the defense to do it. So I'm excited to see. No Fontana was interesting, but we thought maybe that was because of rotation. and Jim Curtin kind of giving Fontana with Santos coming in and playing that striker next to Shabelko.
Chicago, Atlanta. 3-1 Atlanta. Ezekiel Barco with, well, you know what? That would probably be goal of the week contender. Yeah. There you go. I didn't want to take that one. I'll let you have that one. Then Luka Stojanovic for the Fire, equalizing in the 46th minute. 66th minute own goal for Johan Kappelhoff to give the Five Stripes the lead. And then Emerson Hindman putting one away in the 85th to make it 3-1. Joseph Martinez came in the 67th minute. Kind of a really good result for Atlanta. Chicago might be who we thought they were. They're kind of near the bottom right now. They're in 12th, along with Cincinnati and New York Red Bulls. I think Red Bulls obviously going to come up a bit. But, yeah, when we look at standings, Chicago down the 14th, or not 14th, 12th. We have them finishing 13th and 11th. So, yeah, they're right in the middle of both of ours right now. Still early, but, you know, Atlanta just, you know, they couldn't score against Orlando. They go out there and score 3 this time. The Union play them tonight from when we're recording within an hour. Mm-hmm. They're going to be playing. So a little nervous as a Union fan because we don't really do all that well on Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I am nervous that we're going to be playing Atlanta there in that first leg. But thoughts, Logan, on either of these teams?
I mean, for the scoreline, it was good. I don't think Atlanta played like extremely well. Barco looks really good, but it wasn't like it wasn't a complete domination of Chicago. I actually think Luka Stojanovic looks really good. He's played extremely well for the Fire. But yeah, no, it was a nice win for Atlanta being back in front of those fans. Those fans are wild. That stadium. Good luck winning there for whoever's going to travel into Mercedes-Benz. Because
you got to make a trip up there. You know, you're not too far away. Yeah, you really got to, because I want to go there so badly too. And you know, if it wasn't COVID and if it wasn't so far away, it would have been great to go there for the Champions League. But I just, you know, unfortunately, I'm not rich. I can't swing that. But let's move on to the last game that we have to talk about here. Houston at Portland. Portland end up, I'm looking for the score, winning against Houston Dynamo. I couldn't remember that off the top of my head. Yeah, 2-1. Freya scores 6 minutes in. Paredes' own goal in the 28th to give Houston an equalizer. Then he scores his own, not his own goal, because that was the first thing, the own goal. He scores his own offensive goal where he scored to give Timbers the lead and the win in the 73rd minute. Portland Timbers rebounding from that loss against Vancouver. Houston looked good against San Jose, then, you know, lose against Portland. Is there much to read into these results?
Houston, I think, is better than we thought. Might challenge up out of that bottom. I'm not sure if they can keep consistent. I will say they did play a Portland team that was rotating. You know, they a team that basically Savarese used it as, like, first half he used some of the players that are going to appear in the starting 11 normally, and then second half he made the changes of, like, Valeri came up and stuff like that. I will say the coolest moment of this game was Diego Valeri lost his father recently. And after the first goal that they scored, they all went over and they hugged Diego because he was on the bench, which was a cool moment. But yeah, not too much to take away from this game because Portland was kind of playing with a mismatched team because they're trying to rotate players for Champions League, which, you know, they've got later on this week.
All right. So let's go ahead and do our power rankings real quick. We only did a top 5, so don't yell at us too much here. You can actually yell at Logan. He put most of these together. I just said, hey, make sure you add this team.
So that you don't get yelled at.
So I don't get yelled at. Here we go. Power rankings. I didn't really center this all that well. Number 1, Seattle Sounders. Number 2, LAFC. Number 3, LA Galaxy. Number 4, Columbus Crew. Number 5, Atlanta United. So I'm going to ask you, Logan, why? Because so I had to put Galaxy in here. I saw some people, like the official MLS power rankings, have Galaxy 10th. Like, I get it. They only in their description literally just says Chicharito. So I get it that, they were kind of down on them originally, so they probably don't want to go overboard. But I think when they had this out of a start, and they haven't had this type of start for the last, almost 10 years, I feel like I have to have them in the top 5, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts here on these power rankings?
So I want to talk about the Sounders.
Yeah.
A 4-0 blowout of a team that many thought were dark horses to win it, an MLS
Including
Cup.
me?
Yeah, compete for that number 1 spot in the West. And then they go and share a point with LAFC at LAFC on maybe a goal that shouldn't have, been a goal if they would have kind of gotten their head on straight and kind of figured that out with Atuesta. And I thought that the rest of the match, they had very much more. They had more chances. They had more abilities to create an attack. And I thought that the Roll Dons were really good. Josh Atencio, that was another name that I wanted to mention when I was mentioning Cade Cowell. Josh Atencio, American, 19 years old, kind of that deeper lying midfielder, but very creative, very physical, wins balls a lot, plays very well in the attack. And he's looked phenomenal against against Reynoso, who that he was trying to compete with. So no, I think that the Sounders, that's why I pick them number 1. And then the Galaxy, like you said, Jordan, the Crew, we'll just kind of leave alone. They haven't played, but they're such a strong team that it's hard to put
they played
them out.
one game.
Yeah. And they played, Philly at home, but it was just kind of a wish-wash game. I think that the Galaxy, like you said, I still think that that's deserving. They're the only team to win 2 matches in this is week 2. They've got 6 points, right? They come from behind to beat Miami. So I think that deserves a spot in the top. And then until they drop a couple points here or they lose to somebody that's not so great, who's lower down the standings, then I think that's when they start to move themselves down. But right now, how do you stop a guy that has 5 goals? Like, you don't. the kid, it's just a kid. The old man just has a nose for goal, and he's going to find ways to score, and that's why the Galaxy are 3rd for us.
Yep. And then we have Atlanta 5th, which I think some people think we're crazy for thinking Atlanta's going to be good this year, but I think common consensus is that with the pieces they've added, with the coach they've added, they should be, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, in good consciousness, put like the Philadelphia Union up there right now. I can't put, maybe you could put the Revs up there, but really they just barely beat DC United, and they drew with the Fire, right, which isn't great. So if you're looking at results as well of who's played who, like LA FC has faced Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Seattle faced Minnesota. They're off to a really good start. The Crew only faced the Union, so you might even be able to remove them if you wanted to, but most people think that they're still good enough to be high power ranking. LA Galaxy, like we already said. Atlanta, like we just said. So for me, I think this is a good top 5. Not much else to really go on there. Are we good to talk some schedules?
Let's do it.
All right. So tonight, the day that this is recording, obviously probably already going to be on TV by the time that you listen to this. Atlanta, Philadelphia is tonight at 8 o'clock on FS1. And then at 10 o'clock, Toronto versus Cruz Azul on FS1. Tomorrow, April 28th, the Wednesday, is Columbus versus Monterrey at 8:30 on FS2. due to a baseball game on FS1, I believe. Then at 10:30 is Portland versus Club America on FS1. Then on the Saturday matches, New York Red Bulls versus Chicago. Probably should be a good 3 points for New York Red Bulls, you would think. On MLS Live on ESPN Plus at 1 o'clock on Saturday, May 1st. 2 o'clock, Salt Lake versus Kansas City on ESPN Plus. 3 o'clock, Montreal versus Columbus. That'll be interesting to see if Montreal continues their hot form. Yeah. And that one, that's on ESPN Plus as well. 3:30 on Twitter, Univision and TUDN, Houston Dynamo versus LAFC. Then at 7 o'clock, we have a little break there. 7 o'clock, New England Revolution versus Atlanta United on ESPN Plus. On 7:30, Orlando versus FC Cincinnati. My good friend and yours, our co-host Logan Stump, will be there.
I will. Leaky defense. Come on.
If you don't get a goal in that game, I don't know what to tell you.
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's a good one. And at the same time, Philadelphia Union versus NYCFC. So, yeah, I guess I'll be watching that one instead of yours. Then at 8 o'clock, Dallas versus Portland. These are all on ESPN Plus. There's no national games other than the Twitter game. Then at 8 o'clock, Minnesota versus Austin. Can Minnesota get out of their slump, or will Austin get their second win of their history? That'll be pretty big. Then at 11 o'clock, San Jose versus DC United. So I'll be up until 1 a.m. there watching that match. That's also on ESPN Plus. Then on Sunday, we got 3 matches. 1 o'clock, Nashville versus Inter Miami on ESPN. I will be playing a softball game at 4 o'clock. No, so I should be good to watch that. Yeah, Miami, I should be good to go watch it.
Miami will go up 2-0 and Nashville will come back and win.
Yeah, could you imagine? This is at Nashville as well.
No. That's 3 in a row. That's not fair.
That is weird. That is very odd. Then at 9 p.m. So I get a nice break for I do my double header softball games in between. I come home, take a shower, relax, and I watch Seattle versus LA Galaxy. The game of the weekend. I will say it again. Game of the weekend, FS1, 9 o'clock on Sunday. Seattle versus LA Galaxy. Chicharito, 5 goals in 2 games up against Raul Diaz. This should be fun. Then at 10 o'clock on ESPN Plus is Vancouver versus the Rapids, which I'm probably skipping that one until the other game is over. I'm probably going to watch have to watch the Seattle-LA game fully, and then I'll catch the second half or whatever of Vancouver, Colorado. But yeah, that's your weekend here, so pretty interesting. One thing we also noted is next week after that, the 8th, guess who's on Fox? LA Galaxy versus LAFC. So LA has had all 4 of their first games on TV, on national TV. So looks like, even though they weren't great last year, the other, they're like, this is a big market. We're going to play this. And I'm really excited for the first El Tráfico of the season. I cannot wait until May 8th to watch those 2 teams. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get your thoughts on that, El Tráfico.
It'll be fun.
I hope it's good. I mean, look, nothing I don't think will ever beat the first. I think it was the first El Tráfico when Zlatan came on, and he's, LAFC's winning. Galaxy come back and win it, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. But yeah, looking forward to it. Any other notes here on this upcoming week?
A couple games I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to the Atlanta game. They play. They go up against New England. So I think those are 2 teams that are going to be kind of jockeying for top positions, maybe the East. And then actually, you know what? I'm really interested to see how Houston does against LAFC. I've just kind of been impressed with Houston, and I want to see, LAFC obviously is a really good team, but I think that given a chance, I think at home in Houston, maybe no Carlos Vela, Maybe no Diego Rossi. Might have a chance here. So I think Houston can grab some points against a really good team.
If those two players are out again for the El Tráfico, that'll be kind of a bummer.
It would
but
be.
the stage would be set for the Galaxy.
Yep.
The next week, if that's the case.
And then the other game that the one at night is the Minnesota-Austin game. I'm always just fascinated to see Austin play, and can Minnesota get off the snide.
Here's my prediction. I think Austin wins that game.
I do too.
Minnesota go 0-3 to start the season.
Yep. And at home against Austin. Could you imagine? Put that up on your bulletin, Adrian. Jordan just said that you're going 0-3.
I can't wait to hear his post game be like, bloody Jordan weekend of Stateside Soccer Show.
Soccershow.mls.com.
Oh, my. I'm really excited for your second match as a season ticket holder. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, Cincy, the Brazilian connection's running deep there, Brenner.
Yeah. I'll probably have it on two screens. I'll probably have one on my phone and one on my TV, or I'll sit in my office and have one on the computer and one on the TV or something. Yeah, man. That's exciting. I'm really excited for this 8:00 Champions League. I'm not really excited for the Toronto one because I really think they're going to get smashed by Cruz Azul.
Yes.
So if it's a smashing at halftime, it's probably going to be like, okay, that's an early night for me because that's a late game.
I was going to say you'll have to tweet about that one. I'll be asleep.
10 o'clock. So it'll be over by midnight or so, which I stay up that late anyway. But yeah. So so we'll wrap it up here. If we will maybe have a guest at some point in the future, just previewing a game at some point, or maybe recapping a game. We're going to be going to 2 shows a week soon. I think they start going midweek here, coming up soon. So we probably have another week or two.
Once Champion League kind of exit out, that's when they started.
Yeah. So I think we'll be going to I think we might record on Tuesday, Fridays. Is that?
Yeah, that'll probably be the,
okay?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead, and if you want to reach us, you can tweet us at Stateside Show, Instagram at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, or email us statesideshow@gmail.com. We do have a YouTube, which, YouTube is kind of strict with their custom URLs, so it doesn't have youtube.com/Stateside Show. So you have to look us up, but we've been putting video versions of the show up. Last week was kind of brutal, I will say, because we recorded part of it in Skype, part of it on here, and now we just have mainly converted to this. So this is our first full episode that's just like this, kind of like when we do our live streams. So hopefully if you want to watch us on video, you can catch all the fun gags like Logan's background picture. We post some graphics of our predictions over again for people that may want to know, and also for me because I forget where I put teams. And we create graphics like this. Fancy. And only if you're a video fan, you know what graphic I just showed. So there you go.
Jordan, you can't show that on the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty good though.
It is hot.
It is hot. So there you go. We will wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will catch you all next time when we break down Week 3 and some of these Champions League Leg 1s matches. Chicharito's start has been out of this world. We'll catch you next time. See you later.